just wrapped up. Lakers, Nuggets. Nuggets get a win 119-107 over LA, picking up right where they left off in the Western Conference Finals last season. Carl, let's start off with you. Anything, this is overreaction time, right? Anything from this game that you're looking at it and you're like, oh no, this is a sign of something bad for the rest of the season. Is there anything you were super concerned about from this first game?
I'm not gonna lie. The fact that I didn't really even notice this because I wasn't watching the game in depth like that. The fact that Anthony Davis didn't score a single point in the second half just reminds me of the old shit we will always complain about with him. Oh, he's up and down, he's inconsistent, but not one damn point in the second half. Like, how does that even happen? Like, you can't, like, you don't have to play that well, but he got 17 points. All 17 was in the first half. Like, that's terrible. So that's the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me the question.
Yeah, I would agree. You doing your thing in the first half, and in the second half, you just put up a goose egg. That's unacceptable. And I don't want to say it. I don't want to be like, I know we're doing overreactions, and I know I tend to overreact a lot.
Oh yeah, with the Lakers especially.
Yeah, say it. Say your overreaction.
It's not. That's not. If that's what he's doing, first game out the gate, that's not a good sign for the rest of the year. I'm just gonna say it now.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing there is I like the vibe early in the game. Like, it was very clear. Like, it seemed like for every Jokic bucket, AD had a response. Like, they were really going at each other, and then the Lakers deferred to him so many times that game, as they're like, you can clearly tell that they're really riding with this thing that Anthony Davis is our best player. Like, the touches they got him, the looks they got him, they rode with that the entire first half. And he did good in that first half. And then, like y'all said, nothing at all in the second half. And Jokic was the same way. He had a rough start to the second half too. He had a period where he didn't score, but then he turns it on in the fourth. So then we start looking at Anthony Davis like, all right, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, it's that was the entire thing. So I agree. Again, so you can talk about a million things with the Lakers, right? I think the defense was bad today, but most of it was miscommunication. It's not miscommunication is fixable. I'm not worried about that for this team for the rest of the season. There were the turnovers, but then again, Denver had as many turnovers as them by the time the game was over with. So there were those little things. I did like the flashes we got from some of those new guys like Vincent or like Cam Reddish or like Christian Wood. But the AD thing, if they're going to ride with this thing as AD is our best player, then you need nothing less from AD than MVP level play. You don't need just the 25 a game and the little stuff. You need MVP number one option level play from Anthony Davis. And that's going to be the thing we're going to look at during the rest of the season. Is Anthony Davis an actual number one option player? Right. And I think that's
especially with LeBron playing 29 minutes now. I just saw on Twitter they asked Darvin Ham, was that going to be something moving forward in the season? He said yes. So it looks like AD is going to be taking more of those LeBron minutes that we saw LeBron having last season. And he's got to perform.
Yeah.
Which means him maybe playing upwards of 34, 35 minutes a game. He's got to
probably.
He's going to get a ball a lot down the stretch. So he's going to have to perform.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you shouldn't ask LeBron to play like 35 or almost 40 minutes because he's 38, almost 40 years old, and he's in his 21st season. So that just wouldn't make sense. So Anthony Davis got to put his big boy pants on. LeBron is trying to give him this team over the last couple of years, and AD has kind of been iffy about it. Like, he's saying this is your team because he's getting old as hell.
I don't want it.
That's what it sounds like when LeBron said this is AD's team. His play tells me I don't want to be the best player on the team. That's all I see. I don't want to be the best player on the team. That's all I see, bro. I'm telling you.
And the question is, and again, it's early. I'm not going to overreact because Anthony Davis is still a hell of a player. But the question is he actually a number one option on a championship contending team, right? To the level Jokic, like to the level Jokic established himself as, and other guys have. Like, that's the biggest question for AD is, can he end up being that type of player? You know what I mean? And because he never established himself as that. Like, his peak with the Lakers was 2020, and just still since then. Even when they won, then he wasn't their number one guy. It was still LeBron. He won the Finals MVP. And so that's what AD is set out to prove is, can he actually be that number one option? Can he actually be an MVP contender? That's what he's got to prove this season. And again, it's one game, but with as many touches as he got, you guys mentioned those minutes he's going to get, the usage is probably going to be his highest usage season. Maybe not. It may balance out because they have a lot of other options offensively, but bottom line is he's going to get that MVP treatment from this team, right? With how many touches and things like that. So your question is, can he end up being that guy? He hasn't established himself as that guy yet, We've seen a lot of guys pass him up. Also, over the last couple of years too, since 2020, Giannis, Jokic, and Joel Embiid. He's got to prove that this season. So it's a prove it year for him. This wasn't a good start in what should have been a statement game for him.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I think our problem is? We keep saying, "Oh, he's got to be the number one guy." Maybe he just isn't.
Yeah.
Maybe he's. I think I'm coming to that realization. Like, if he was a number one guy, we would have seen number one production by now. We haven't. Let's be honest. I think he's just the number two, and I feel like. I don't know. We should stop just saying we want him to be the number one guy, and that's a shame because, like I said, LeBron is in his 21st season, so they kind of don't have a choice because he is the same LeBron he used to be. Obviously, he's been playing the league that damn long, but I think that's the truth. He just isn't a number one guy, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah, bro. I was thinking that same thing actually while Tyler was talking. Ever since that 2020 season, you know, we've had these high expectations since since he had that strong showing in that finals run. And every year, the expectations get higher and higher, and his performance just goes lower and lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yeah,
it's just like a negative. It's like a negative effect. The more we expect, the less he does.
Or we get that level of production from him, and it just goes away. Or he gets hurt. You know what I mean? So it's a million things with him. So he's got to prove that this season. And again, I don't want to make the statement yet that he's not a number one guy, but that's the question he's got to answer this year. You know what I mean? If there's any other time than it's this year, he's got to answer that question. To give Denver credit, great game from them. Still, and I talked about it before, as a whole, when it's going to come down to it, I still like the Lakers over them when it comes to finals contention. I think they did get a great game from their guys. They got a lot of really quality looks, which is always amazing. And that's just what they do. They are the best shot making team in the NBA. You know, but they have to figure out that Bruce Brown thing, right? I think they took a step down because there's no Bruce Brown, and they've got to figure out who that guy is going to be because he was so big for him. Who's going to be that guy to pick up the slack? You know, where he left off and everything. Is it going to be Christian Brown? Is it going to be Reggie Jackson? You know, is it going to be somebody else? Like, could it be Julian Strawther who didn't even play tonight? Like, it's a million things, but I think they got to answer that question. But again, tonight we see why they won that title. They do a great job of generating such high quality looks. Mike Malone, like after a timeout in the fourth quarter where it looks like the Lakers are going on this run, calls a timeout and they run these great sets and get these really, really super high quality looks.
Yeah,
and then close it out. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say, do you think they're the most they're the team? Obviously, it's the first game of the season, but do you think they run the most pick and roll out of anybody in the league? Because I feel like they damn near do. You don't think so?
No, it's the Hawks. It's the Hawks. But still they get so many. But their 2-man game is the best in the league between Jokic and Murray. It's the best. I think I don't care what anybody says. It's the best I've seen. Their 2-man game is probably the best we've seen since Stockton and Malone, and we saw that again today. And they get Jokic so many great looks. Like there were like a lot of those pick and pops, which AD just for some reason would just keep leaving him at the top of the key to 3-point line, which he did last year. But
I don't know why.
I don't know why he does it. And he got so many great looks. There are a couple of times where I'm like, you lucky they ain't hit him because he was open. But they do such a good job of getting looks. I do think this is the most well-coached team in the NBA, right up with Golden State. And they're the best shot-making team in the league. But that's going to carry them so far. I want to see what they do as far as that guy outside of their main three. I want to see who that guy ends up being this season. But I still like Denver. But I'm still giving the Lakers the edge over them. Even with this loss, I still give the Lakers the edge over them the rest of the season.
It's the first matchup between these two this season, so I know Darvin Ham he wanted to try some things out because the type of lineup they can have a small lineup that can work, and they also have a big lineup. And I think we saw more of their small lineup than their big lineup for real. But I would like to see them consistently run their big lineup against the Nuggets and see if they can affect them, see if they can bother them a little bit more, because that's personally what I think they didn't do last year. They did in this first game. They didn't go big enough for me, especially to start out the game. Now, I don't know if you would probably want to start Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood's probably not going to do anything, but I think a big body just will preserve Anthony Davis to have a better second half, because I really think he kind of gets tired and then he just becomes a no-show, especially against Jokic.
I think that's an interesting thing is how many of those guys are going to end up playing, because we did see them put Wood in. And they did put Jackson Hayes in at the same time too. Like they did go big. They're a big team, generally speaking. Yeah. Here's my verdict on Jokic: is I just don't think you can stop him. I think that's.
Oh no, you can't. But my problem is, and I think this is why Anthony Davis doesn't have it's like he runs out of energy against him is because he does so much to try to defend them like through all 4 quarters. You need a collective effort, and I feel like they just rely on him to do a one-on-one. You can't do that. With great players like him, sometimes you got to double him. Sometimes you got to use just the big body, and they don't do that. Like I don't realize, like why not? Like some of the greatest players in the history of the game has gotten double team Jokic. Like he deserves that respect, in my opinion.
And then you double team, you double team, you're gonna find somebody.
But that's better to me. That's damn near better than him. That's better than him. You make somebody. It's always the thing in sports. Make somebody
I get
else
what you're
beat
saying,
you.
though, Carl. I get what you're
Make
saying.
somebody else. You always say this, and they do it in football too. It's a football net. Make somebody else beat you, not their best player. You never want the best player to beat you. Make somebody else beat you. Like if Caldwell Pope hits all his threes, if he goes 8 for 8, okay, you win. I can't do nothing about that. But what's the likelihood of nigga going for 8 for 8?
Shit,
He probably. I ain't gonna lie though. He go 4 for 8.
He a top 10. She definitely. I think he a top 5.
But you see what I'm saying though. Which one would you rather have? I just rather live with Caldwell Pope because he's just not as good as Jokic. So I don't let him try your best possible not to let him get his. I'd rather him have 15 assists, honestly. But that's the hard thing about him. Like you saying, Ty.
You can't stop
those 15 assists. It's like just equal to the points that he scored.
Those 15 assists are going to wide open. They're going to layups or wide open threes, and that's going to be the interesting thing. Like the rest of the season, the rest of Jokic's career, is there are a few guys right now who have been in that best player in the league combo who some people have figured out. We figured out Giannis and how to stop him. They figured out to a certain extent. They figured out Joel Embiid. Steph Curry and Nikola Jokic right now, at least, are the 2 guys that you ain't figured out just yet. And so I want to
never figure out Steph.
Yeah, like Steph never got figured out. I want to see. I want to see if anybody figures out Jokic and what they can do.
LeBron figured out Steph a couple times when it was even. I'm just saying.
Defensively,
a little bit, not figured out, but bothered. I ain't gonna say figured out, but like if you think about it, a lot of times Steph has had his worst series against LeBron.
That's true,
actually. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Now I don't. What can you now? I feel like the only thing you can do is throw bodies at him. Like I feel like I'm not saying that's gonna stop him.
Yeah,
God damn.
That's what make him so scared. I literally be watching Jokic like how the fuck because you just said it earlier. He's so impactful. His passing is probably the scariest aspect of his game because he don't get these little rinky-dink assists where it's like you just throw it, somebody happens to score. I want to see what percentage of his assists go to like wide open looks or layups. Like I don't know the number on that, but what percentage? Because all of Jokic's passes, and he's so even through double teams, he's so patient. He gonna find like if this one cutter pops or something like that, he's gonna wait for the best option. This dude does not make bad decisions. I want to see what the defensive scheme against Nikola Jokic is gonna end up being. Yeah, that's the question. What was it against Steph, and what's the defensive scheme against Nikola Jokic? That's what I want to see the rest of the season. Somebody gonna figure something out.
You know what it's gonna have to be?
What's that?
You know what it's gonna have to be?
What's that?
Gonna have to. And this is the thing with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis isn't aggressive enough all the time, but Joel Embiid, him and Joel Embiid not gonna match up because they definitely not going to the finals, I don't think. But the 76ers. But you have to have somebody that tires them out on defense. And I don't think it's as big in the league that does that. I think that's the only way to kind of try to hinder some of his offense, to make him tired as hell on the defensive side, because obviously that's not his strongest talent. Obviously.
I agree with that.
Well, you haven't seen anybody be able to do that yet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because it's not, first of all, let's be honest, it's not a whole lot of great bigs in the league. It's like what, 4 or 5? It's not a ton of great ones. So that's why we haven't figured it out yet.
And what pisses me off is AD should be able to do that, but Jokic, like
to be honest, he doesn't want to. Like the dude's been on record saying, I don't want to play the 5. I don't want to do that. It's just he can do it. It's just a matter of if he wants to or not.
And it's clearly not his strong suit.
And we've even seen like tonight, Jokic walled up on AD a few times. AD missed a couple of layups on Jokic. Like Jokic walled up on like you think AD would be the big guy you just mentioned to be able to make him, put him through so much on the offensive end to where he can't, or put him through so much defensively to where he can't do anything offensively. Jokic has some possessions. There were a couple of possessions where AD's trying to go downhill on him and AD blows a couple of layups. Like he can get physical down there with AD. So you would think it'd be AD to be that big guy to slow him down, and it's not. I think
AD does that a lot. I'm being honest. He does blow a lot of layups. But I did see, and it was even though it was regular season, I did see like Joel Embiid give Jokic damn near 41 time. I think
Yeah,
y'all remember that.
Embiid to be the only guy.
So Embiid, even though you can debate who's better, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, say if they, I don't know if he was in the West, I feel like Embiid would be that guy because I've seen Embiid, like I said, give Joker 40, and then Joker kind of has a pedestrian-like game, not terrible, but like a pedestrian game. So I guess Joel is the only person to answer the question. But AD did block his shot a couple times today, but outside of that,
he got rebounded by like 6 again, and they only had 7 rebounds. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just we'll see. It's early.
I think that's the issue. And I think we're going to keep running into that. We're going to try to keep making AD a number one option. He's not that, and it's unfortunate because LeBron is on the tail end of his career, and that's the only option we have because obviously LeBron's not the LeBron, and like he's not young enough to be the number one option on every given night anymore. Like that's not going to happen. So it has to be AD, and I don't think it will be. And I think that's going to come down to maybe another playoff series to where we're kind of like looking at AD like, what the fuck are you doing? And
even if they are, last point, even if they are playing well in tandem, it's still got to be dominant. It's still got to be mostly AD. You know what I mean? Like, even if we're going to try to balance it out between these two, it's still got to be AD. So he's still got to answer that call. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They're giving him brains to do that now. Once you give him that opportunity, you got to step up to. They're honestly just hand putting it on.
They're trying to. They force feed. They force feed him the ball. They force feed him the ball all the time. Yeah. Like they're trying to give him opportunities. And this is the thing. I feel like maybe if this was Hornets AD, you think he'd be like have better games, or you think he'd still be struggling? I don't know. Hornets or Pelicans. However you want to say
Hornets.
I don't really know because my thing is you got it better. I don't really know because AD's peak is 2020, so it's like you think by now he'd figure out. I can do this.
And he had good. And I'm be honest, he had good games against Jokic. Then I don't get it.
Well, that's because before Jokic was like Jokic though.
I still think he the same player. I think the team is just healthier. They got snipers on their team. That's what makes his passing so elite. Like MPJ is healthier. Like Jamal Murray's even better. He's came back from his injury. He's even better.
I think Jokic, the point that he committed to losing so much weight is a big difference in his style of play, and he's a lot more durable. He's a lot more durable than what he's been.
He was skinny when he was in the bubble. Well, skinny for his standards, I think.
He couldn't get off the ground before.
He still can't. He still can't.
But you didn't. Did you notice like Jokic was way more lighter and shit like last year?
All I know is this is random. All I know is because this kind of put my boy Luke on the back burner, on the back shelf. Luke, you better do something because I ain't gonna stand for this foreign dude being better than you. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. That's true.
You supposed to be my favorite foreign player. You gonna have besides Wemby now, I guess, but you gonna have to do
something.
Right.
Yeah.